We just want to warn our listeners that this episode may be a bit heavy for anyone who suffered from abuse. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Selena and
Iman.
together we make you plus happy. Each week we bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms with a dose of laughter.
Remember to like and subscribe to You Plus Happy podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at You Plus Happy. Hey, Selena.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my God.
How
You
are
know,
you?
I played it back and it's not sexy at all. She
We're gonna
tripped
do a
out.
poll
Yeah.
of how many people think Selena's pie is sexy.
Comment below. Like, no, she sounds like a smoker. She
Oh,
smokes a pack a day.
smoker is more like Marge Simpson or like her sisters. That's more of a smoker.
Yeah, that's what I sound like. Like I'm like they don't get like that overnight. I'm getting there.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good.
You're
Yeah.
good. How was your week? Anything exciting?
No. Well, anyway, it was good. But I was thinking like, who you hang with really does rub off on you and like matters. And I know you mentioned a few weeks ago, like, or I don't know if it was last week, like you were really budgeting and watching what you're spending and like listening to finance stuff. So
Yeah.
I started taking a finance course, and then I was like really budgeting and like going back over my money and like, oh, I need to watch what I'm spending and da, da, da. So it was like a really good thing that rubbed off on me, and I'm like happy. And it was a really good reminder because I was getting reckless. Sometimes we got to reel it back in. You just budget. What's that? Not gonna do it. So yeah, I needed that. And I'm glad I'm glad it rubbed off on me.
That's good. I'm glad. Yeah, it's so easy to spend without paying attention unless you're very intentional with
And then you look at your account, you're like, whoa, what? Wait a minute. I spent $1 million
it.
this weekend.
It's all right. You got the other million in there. You're good.
What about you?
So I had a bit of a slip up with my not even, the budgeting, but also I gave in and I went and got my nails done after saying I was going to take a break, but they were breaking and they were thin. And I was like, so I went and got them done. And I was talking to the lady. I was like, well, what can I do to strengthen him? She's like, really like nothing, basically. I was like, all right, it's fine. It's just, it is what it is.
Can I see them?
Yeah. Well, they're really light, so
Oh,
you
you can't
probably
really
can't
like,
see them.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, they were breaking and it was
No,
bothering
it's a
me. And I was like,
struggle.
I just have to go and do it. So I did it.
You know what's funny? My neighbor, I was going to use this for a different week, but my neighbor told me her grandmother, somebody told her to buy gelatin and just soak your hands and your fingernails in it
Really?
for like 10 minutes a day or something, and it strengthens them. And this lady I used to work with a long time ago told me to eat Jello, which is the same concept. So maybe it's like some old school. I'm sure we could Google it and figure like
Yeah.
probably a whole thing behind it. But I was like, I'm gonna do that. Mine have gotten stronger, but still, like,
Yeah. If it works, let me know.
yes, I will if I ever actually for real do it.
I clearly didn't do any research. I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go and get them done.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy for you. You gotta treat yourself.
Yeah. All right. So this week we have Joy Larkin on the show. She's a life coach, executive director, public speaker, mentor, and counselor. She's the founder and CEO of Live Narc Free, an organization that helps individuals learn how to reclaim their well-being, self-esteem, love, relationship, and how to break free from narcissistic abuse. Joy believes in a society of strong, beautiful, and powerful people who can accomplish anything by overcoming their struggles in their way and maintaining high standards for themselves. You can find more about her work and what she does at livenarcfree.com.
Without further ado, we welcome Joy Larkin.
Hi, Joy.
Hello, how are you ladies?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
I'm Bond. This is my co-host and friend, Selena.
Hi, how you doing? I love your top.
I know, it is cute.
And thank you guys for allowing me to be on your podcast. I definitely feel honored. So thank you for that.
Sure. We're happy you're here.
Yes.
I know we were talking about it and we're like, we're interested in terms of the whole like narcissistic thing.
Yeah.
And we both had our experiences. So I'm excited to dig into that.
Yeah, I was having flashbacks today.
That's funny.
Right, so we'll just hop right in. Okay. So just the first question is just how did you get started with your current role and like what you're doing?
Yeah, so I lived with my aunt. Well, I moved to live with my aunt who lived in Los Angeles, and she was a narcissist, living with her for 5 years. And while living with her, I met a guy on Twitter, which whom I found out that he was a narcissist as well. And after, going no contact with both of them, I met this guy that was a borderline. I met him at work, and luckily I only dealt with him for 4 months. And that's kind of like how I got started in the field of coaching people and helping them deal with narcissists.
So I'm just curious, like what were the telltale signs for you to recognize that?
So for a narcissist, they're usually people that feel a sense of entitlement. They have like a woe is me mentality. They usually don't take accountability for their actions. They lack empathy. They don't have the capability of loving other people at all. And they usually take advantage of people and manipulate people without even caring about how they feel, using people at their own expense and manipulating them. So
it sounds tough to live with a narcissist for 5 years, and especially someone in your family. Because like when you're dating someone, you can cut them off. Yes. I know it's not easy, but you can get rid of them, and it's different with family. Like I don't know how did you? I have 2 questions. Like what were like an example, like a specific example that let you know that, and then how did you navigate that? Like because you lived there for a long time.
Yes. So with my aunt, there would just be several instances. I know like she treated me really well, like with the first 2 years while living with her. And I want to say like after that second year, I just noticed that she was like very critical of me. Nothing that I ever did was right. She would always be jealous of like the plans that I had for my life, or just like simple hobbies and simple goals and things that I inspired to do. She was like, oh, I don't think you should do that. You should do this instead, So I just recognized that, and just putting me down a lot, belittling me all the time. And just comparing herself, like physical self, to me all the time. And I'm like, dude, I'm like 19, 20, and you're just like this older woman, established career, have a home, married, kids, and you're comparing yourself to like a kid, basically, So after recognizing that, I just decided that I was just tired of living that way. I just felt like I didn't deserve that. And so I decided I was going to save up my money. I was going to college at the time. So luckily, I always felt like school saved my life in a sense, because the school that I was going to at the time was about 30 minutes away from like where she stayed. And so I had a choice. I was like, well, I could either commute, or I could like get some roommates, and I could kind of have like an easier commute to school. So I decided to move out. And I realized that was one of the best decisions that I ever did. So.
Yeah. And that is so scary. I was thinking, when I thought about this, I was thinking more of like, again, like dating, but I'm also, it's scary if someone has a parent like that and they can't just leave, especially if they're underage. I mean, obviously, you can't just leave. What can someone do to like deal with a narcissist? Like if they can't move away or get away from one?
That's a good question. I would say just really try to isolate yourself from them. Try not to take what they say and do personal. I know it can be difficult, especially like if it's your parent, because we like look up to them. We feel like we owe everything to them, and they say like family over everything.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I had to realize is that that's not true. Especially if you're feeling abused and manipulated, you feel controlled, you feel low about yourself, and that's not normal. You're not allowed to feel your feelings, you're not allowed to feel your emotions or speak up for yourself. But yeah, just isolate yourself, don't take it personal. Try to escape, start saving your money, work multiple jobs, do something. Try to spend time away from the house if you can with trusted friends or maybe coworkers or something like that, but just try to get away as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I feel like Selena and I have both dealt with people that kind of fit that mold.
Yeah.
But for you to take that experience and create a whole kind of organization just focused on that, like what was that path in terms of just saying like, okay, this is my experience, like how can I create an organization? It's Live Narc Free, right? It's the name of the
Live Narc Free, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just remembered, like, after dealing with all of the people in my life, like that I really love deeply, like my aunt, the guy that I was dealing with for like 4 years, and then there was this other guy, like I said, I met him at work for 4 months, and after dealing with all that, I just realized how hurt I felt. I was like sad, I was depressed, and I just felt like, although I did have friends around me that I loved them dearly and they loved me back and they really cared about me after everything that I went through, but they just didn't really understand because they didn't go through it. And so I was thinking like, man, like I'm hurting. I need to like share my story. I need to like tell other people about this because like maybe it can help someone. And so I just remembered, because I had previously already had a YouTube channel where I was doing like network marketing. So people had already knew me, from where I was living at and stuff, but nobody knew that I like had an abusive aunt that I lived with for 5 years. And they didn't know that I was like involved with a guy that was verbally, mentally, emotionally abusive, all that stuff. Well, 2 guys. And so, I was very nervous. I was scared, embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, like, what are people going to think, like, when I tell my story? And then I just thought, like, it's not even about, like, what people think. It's just about me. Like, for one, it was about me healing and then helping other people heal as well. And so I remember there were 2 videos that I did. One, I just started talking about my experience with my aunt. And then I talked about my experience with the male narc that I dealt with. And that got a decent amount of views, and people were like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know you went through that. I'm sorry to hear that. But there was one video in particular called The Narcissist Has a New Girlfriend, New Supply. And I remember when I posted that video, I think within like a 2-week period, it went viral. It got like 10,000 views and it had like 60 something comments. And I was just like, okay, I think I'm supposed to help people with narcissism. And so that's why I started going from there. So.
And on that like journey and starting your YouTube channel and starting the company, did you experience failure, and how did you push through, or what you perceived as failure, and how did you push through it?
I guess it would just be more so of me kind of having those withdrawals and me maybe wanting to go back to the narcissist and maybe not even believing in myself that I could like coach people and that it would even be successful, and having all those fears. I definitely did go through that. But I realized, I was like, well, if God made me go through this experience, then this is something that I'm supposed to do. It's just a matter of me just believing in myself, having faith in what I'm doing. But I definitely did go through those periods of times where I doubted myself. I know it's like I would have like clients like here and there, and then it would kind of be kind of silent. I didn't hear anything. And I was like, man, like, am I supposed to do this? But then, I was still kind of in a healing process as well, but then I was just like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I just kept at it. I didn't give up, so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just pushing, just perseverance,
yes,
just pushing forward.
Yes, and belief and faith in myself, and believing in God too, knowing that he had my back in regards to doing this.
Yeah.
And you might have already kind of answered this, but I guess along that journey, who or what has been kind of your biggest motivation to keep you on that track?
My motivation, I would say my family, because I didn't mention this, but the whole reason why I moved to California was because my brother, he actually got murdered when I was 17. And I remember my dad said, he was like, Joy, well, you have two choices. He said, you can either stay with me in Rockford, which is where I'm at now, or he was like, you can move to California with your aunt. And me being 17, I was like, oh, I'm going to California. I never been before, and I always thought it would be cool. um but just they were actually my motivation, because I just felt like my immediate family, we suffered, and I just always thought like, well, if I could have an impact on the world, or just impacting myself and the people that I could touch, it could help them and they would be proud of me, or I would just make my brother proud, although he's not here anymore. But I just always knew that they were my motivation for everything. And also this guy that I started talking to, his name is Fonda White. He's a motivation for me too, because he's kind of hasn't necessarily been with a narcissist, but he had to overcome a lot of abuse, toxic relationships, and negative environments and things like that. So he was actually another like inspiration for me too as well. So
Do you think, this is like a side note, but do you think narcissists can recover themselves? Like, because I feel like this is, I don't know if it's because it's a buzzword, but I feel like it's super prevalent now that people talk about it. And when I did go through my experience, it was with a guy and I didn't know what was going on. And Iman was around, she knows all about it. And she's like, why do you keep going back? Why can't, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's like, and what you said, it's like withdrawals, like you crave this person. They create this, they figure out, well, my experience was, and I'm not trying to like explain what a narcissist is, but in my situation, they figured out what makes you tick, and then they do it in good ways and in bad ways. But I was also, me being, I don't know, a sucker, I don't know, but I wanted him to be better too and not do that to people. And also I didn't want other people to have to go like, okay, I get away, and then he gets, like you said, a new supply. So it's like, is there anything, I know we're not here to like help narcissists, but like we're helping their victims by helping the narcissists. So it's like, is there anything that they can do like to stop being, or can they ever stop? Or is that something that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny. One of my clients, he actually reached out to me and he was like, Joy, I think I'm a narcissist. I need help. I want to be a better person. And he was just like, yeah, he's like, I've heard, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like, yeah, I've heard like people that I love, and I just want to change. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't necessarily think that he was a narc, because most narcissists don't admit it.
Right.
And they don't think that there's anything wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as change, it's pretty rare. Now you do have some cases. I'm not going to say like no narcissist ever was like, oh, I don't want help, because some of them, yeah, but it's rare. Only time that they usually change or to see the error in their ways is if there's like a midlife crisis or something really, really, really bad happens to them, and they're just like, I need to change. I need to stop being this way. Like I need to get help. You know what I mean? So it's rare, but it does happen. But most of the times they don't admit their wrongs at all. And it's just a continuous cycle of just destruction and broken relationships and toxicity. So it's, yeah.
And I totally relate to your friend who was like, I think I'm a narcissist. So when I was doing all the research, I was looking at quizzes, and I took a quiz and I was like, oh no, what if I'm, it said I wasn't, it said I wasn't, but it was too high of a number for my liking. And I was like, oh no. And then I'm like reading all this stuff, and they were like, the pure fact that you are even stressed out about being a narcissist is a symptom that is not a symptom of being a narcissist.
No.
Like, I was like, ooh.
The narcissists that I dealt with would have never came to me and say, yeah, Joy, like, I'm sorry for like what I did to you. I was wrong. It was my mistake. You didn't deserve that. I apologize. That's just not in their DNA. They don't do that ever. So.
And you describing it, and I didn't even know, like, I'm just being really transparent. Even when you described it, more people came in my mind that are very extremely close to me. And I'm like, low-key triggered. Like, I'm like, I had to reevaluate things. It's not that you want to be a victim, but I think it is important to acknowledge that those people are in your life if they are, because it can be really damaging.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like trying to tell people what to do, but you all know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really traumatizing. And I don't know, I've never been through anything like this in my life. But again, I do feel like my pain wasn't in vain, because I know it's kind of like sidetracking, but like, I just remember like when I was going through my dark time after going no contact with the male narc, I just remember asking God, I was like, God, like, why did I have to go through so much pain and just agony, just like every day? Because I remember like when I stopped talking to the narc, I literally, I'm so ashamed to say this, but like I cried for like 6 months, you know, just like every morning I just woke up and I just cried. But I think it was like beyond the narcissist. I think I was still kind of just dealing with like childhood traumas and other things like in the past, but that was kind of like a trigger, you know what I mean? But but I was just like, God, is there a reason behind this? Like, what's my life purpose? Like, why am I here? Because I was just like, this is a lot of pain that I never felt. And I just got scared and I was like, what is this? What's going on? You know? So, I had to kind of question God a little bit, but then I remember that, you know, God he doesn't give you more than what you can handle. That's one of the things that I do know about God. And it's a reason why we go through certain things in life. So,
yeah. And it sounds like the missing piece when it comes to, because I don't think I've dealt with many narcissists, but it sounds like that missing piece is that reflection of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I'm just wondering, like, what's the difference between, because I've dealt with people that are self-absorbed, but like I wouldn't consider them narcissists. Like, what is that like fine line in that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, like self-absorbed people, they could, you know, I mean, and most of us, we are absorbed with ourselves. We're like, you know, focused on our own selves and what we got going on. We're not really paying attention to others. But like with narcissists, it's like they're harming people. You know, they're using people at their own expense, and they're exploiting people at their own expense, and they don't have any cares about it. They don't have any regrets. Like if they can, they'll do it again, you know, and they're constantly doing that to people over and over and over again. And it's just a path of destruction that they leave behind, and they actually get off on doing that. They love hurting people. That's something that they really enjoy doing, and it's really sick. It's really sick, and I'm just, you know, I'm just happy that I was able to overcome it, but it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was very difficult.
And I think it can be dangerous too, like literally dangerous. Iman knows, and you know who I'm talking about. They started stalking me and like harassing me, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it was really like that. But then you go back, like, you know, and it's like, it's crazy. I changed my phone number, and you know, nowadays people don't change their phone number.
Right.
Like, I had the other number for like 15 years. I was mad, but and it didn't even work. It didn't even work. So I think to Iman's point is a really good point. A lot of people are like self-absorbed, and that's not so great or healthy either. But I think the difference with the narcissist is that they look to hurt people, and they get in your head. They get in there, and they prey on a certain person. Iman, you might have a thing where it's like they know you're not going to be a victim, so they wouldn't mess with you. You know what I mean? Like what I read, and you tell me what you think, Joy. But from what my understanding is, they pick their victims wisely. And they'll even try with you, and if it's not working, they'll be like, "Well, they ain't gonna work." They go to Joy and Selena.
Yeah. Yeah, they have like certain types of like people that they look for, like, you know, people that could be like have a very empathetic people, caregivers, people that want to. There's nothing wrong with helping people, but you want to help those that want to be helped. You don't want to force your will on other people. But you know, maybe like laid back, low key kind of people, or maybe people that could be not all, but some of them could be vulnerable, or maybe just got out of a bad relationship, and the narcissist is like, oh, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna save you, I'm not gonna treat you that way. But then it's like, yeah, they do that, but even worse, and they like traumatize you for life, you know. So but yeah, they definitely have a certain kind of person that they look out for. They want to see like if you will accept their abuse. They just have certain kinds of people that they target, and you know, if you deal with what it is that they're doing, like, you know, meaning gaslighting you, stonewalling you, and you believe everything that they say, you don't question them, you just let them do whatever, then you're like the perfect supply for them. So
Did you do so when I keep talking about it, all the stuff I read, they talked about the love bombing. Obviously, that wouldn't come from your aunt, but the when you date a narcissist, they do the love bombing. Did that happen to you?
Yes.
If you're comfortable talking about, sorry, I don't want to be all
Yeah, no, you're good.
How would that with narcissist or did research? What is love bombing?
Yeah, like love bombing is something, and people can love bomb you like in a normal relationship. It's like, they're nice to you, they are generous, they put you on a pedestal, they tell you nice, sweet things, nice, loving things, because normal people can do that, but the narcissist is doing it because they're trying to see if they could abuse you and use you and further basically destroy you pretty much. But yeah, they're treating you to nice dinners and telling you anything and everything you want to hear. They may future fake you again on that pedestal. You may meet their family and friends and all that stuff, and they're like, yeah, this person is so sweet and they do this, they do that. But meanwhile, just know you're gonna be devalued very, very shortly, and that's all gonna end. That love bombing stage is gonna end very quickly.
That's exactly what happened. Like
Yeah.
to a T. Tried to take me on a family trip the weekend I met him. Like I met him like that third. I know I'm telling all this, but this is for the listeners too, like so you can see it. Because I like we were saying, I really don't want anyone to have to go through this. Yeah. I mean, your path is your path, but if you like the whole point of you being here and sharing these stories is to help people, and that's why I'm always transparent if I feel like it will help someone, and so that's why I'm like okay with telling my business when it comes to that. But Iman knows it was like I met him like a Thursday or something, and then that weekend he's like, come with my on a family trip. I'm like, are you crazy? I still ended up falling for things, but I didn't do that. That was absurd to me.
And then the relationship goes fast too. It goes
very fast. And that's not normal to invite someone around your family and you've known them 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. And I think it's good to know what the signs are, because like I feel like going into that, Selena, you didn't, from my knowing, you had never dealt with that. So it's like you didn't know. You're just like, this is different from what I'm used to. And I've dealt with like controlling people where I'm like, I didn't know the signs until I was in it. So if you're able to give someone a heads up before they are deep into it, I think that's so great.
Yeah, and I think that's why people are like, and you tell me what you think, Joy, like when people say, and Iman, I'm sorry, but also like when they say love yourself first and all that, it sounds cliche, but I was very vulnerable in that time. I was in LA and I had Iman and our crew and stuff, but I didn't have like a guy, and I had struggled to date in LA, as people know how LA is. And when I found people are usually like got so much going on, they don't give you a lot of attention. And it had been years since I had anyone give me that. And I was like, and I didn't realize how much I was craving it. So I think, and like to what Iman said too earlier, is like when you have a reflection piece, and like it would have been helpful had I been reflecting on where I was internally. And I think I would have been, not that I would have avoided him, but I wouldn't have accepted the love bombing, and then he would have went to somebody else, and I was ripe for that situation because of where I was and not doing that self-reflection and like not knowing where I was. And as soon as I got that attention, I was like, ooh, even though I knew it was weird. Iman, we were like, this from the gate, she already knew from the gate. It was not even a question.
His energy, I was like, I didn't even know.
Yeah, and I think too, like myself, I think I was kind of probably vulnerable too, because like I said, I'm a native of Delaware, and when I moved to California, I didn't really know that many people. I was still kind of, getting to know folks, and he knew that I guess as far as I told him about like the past things that happened to me, like with other relationships and how it didn't work out. And he probably felt like maybe, she's lonely. And I also kind of told him about my aunt. So he kind of latched on to that. And so he was kind of acting as like a mentor. Like I'm your best friend. I'm going to be your lover, and we're going to be in love. And this should have been another red flag, because he was like, he asked me, he's like, have you ever been in love? Like, what would it feel like to love me? Like, so he was on, I don't know, he was kind of programming my mind to think like, oh, he wants to love me, or he is in love with me. And he would literally do like those, like, I don't know, he would watch a lot of like romantic movies. So we would like go in the park and he hold my hand like, all that stuff, and like look me deep into my eyes and all that stuff. So I don't know. I get
that to me too.
yeah, like it was
The
crazy.
eye contact thing. I read up. No, for real. When I was reading about it, they said that's one of the things.
I'm scared now.
Like I would come in the house and they would stare in my eyes.
Yes,
And I'm like,
yes, it's
and
scary.
you don't never had it, so you falling for this dumb
You do.
stuff.
You do. But you know the crazy thing, Celine, is like narcissists actually study people. Like they study like what makes them happy, what makes them sad, what gets them going and all that stuff. And so in the beginning, they're on their best behavior. They're on their best behavior. Like I said, doing everything you want them to do, you know, treating you so nice. And you when they stop doing it, you're just like, wait, you want that back. So in your mind, you're trying to get them to do that again, but it's like that was never them from the get-go, you know. So yeah, and then I remember it was so funny. We would go out on dates and stuff all the time, and he would like pick me up and hold me up. Like I never like had that kind of experience, and I never like when we go out on dates, he literally like he would stare at me in my eyes. But like I remember one time though, he did it and it wasn't romantic. Yeah. And I think that's when he was kind of starting to see that I was like trying to find out like who he really was and trying to see like, okay, like, are we going to move forward? Because I will tell you guys this. So this is when I should have left. He told me that he was single, but then 3 months after that, he told me that he had a girlfriend. And so from that point on, I should have just said, okay, he's a liar, a cheater, out the window. It's done. But I was 21 at the time, 31 now. But I thought in my mind, my young, naive mind, I was like, oh, well, I can get him to leave his girlfriend. I could change him. I can make him better. But no, he knew exactly what he was doing. And that's what he wanted.
Yeah. And I think when someone hasn't gone through it, like, it sounds crazy. Like if I hadn't gone through that, maybe I had to go through it just to talk to you today, Joy. I think if I hadn't gone through that, I would be like, she's dumb, you know, like not in a mean way, but in my mind, like it sounds stupid. Like it sounds so stupid. But like you said, they study people, and it's not to make it's not an excuse for yourself. These people are master manipulators.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're studying people, so they can manipulate you in that way. Yeah. And it was the same thing, like rolling in the grass and like just these things that are like endearing on the surface level. Like if you saw us on the street, if you drove by, you're like, oh, they playing like it looks so cute. But really, this person is just trying to get in your head as deep as they can and sink into you as deep as they can. And I know, and like, so I'm also saying that for anyone listening too, like if you haven't gone through it and it sounds crazy, trust me, it happens, and we're not fools, you know, it just happened. So because if I hadn't gone through it, I'm like, okay, they're idiots.
Yeah. And that's what I was actually kind of ashamed about. Like I said, when I first started talking about this on YouTube, I was like so embarrassed because I was like, are people gonna think I'm stupid? Like, are they gonna judge me? But then I was just like, dude, like this is something I never had. Like I've had like dating situations and relationships in the past, but I never had one where somebody went out of their way to hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, because I understand there may be bitter feelings. People may not agree with the breakup. I get that, but you still kind of agree to disagree. You say your last word, you say your piece, you let bygones be bygones, you move on. But this person goes out of their way to hurt me. They give me the silent treatment. They're mean to me. They stonewall me, and they're hoovering me and showing off a new supply within days of me going no contact with them. Like, so you didn't feel that way about me? Like, so you're making me question my own sanity, my own like self-esteem, my own self-worth. And so that was just, it was different. And I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't just sit back and just be like, oh, I couldn't keep my story inside. I had to like share it no matter what people thought. So.
I was gonna say it's so interesting because like my background's in social work, so we talk about like verbal abuse, physical abuse, but it seems like when it comes to that's a form of abuse, but it's not talked about as much. Yeah. And the fact that it's not, like, I could see that also being, like you said, some shame and some guilt, because you're like, oh well, like I shouldn't be going through this, or like I'm, you know, too naive or vulnerable. But it's so great that you kind of put yourself out there. And obviously the fact that you got all those hits and likes and other people are going through it too. So I think that's just a very like powerful platform, because it's not really talked about that much in terms of like a form of abuse in a relationship.
And I think it's too, like, people don't know. So like, say the internet wasn't around and I was dealing with that situation, I would have just thought I was in a bad relationship. Like, you know what I mean? And even Iman and I talking about it, she never was like, he's a narcissist. You know, she didn't say that. Yeah. She was just like, why do you keep talking to him? He's crazy. Like, and it's like, he's crazy. Right. And I'm like, I don't know. Cause you don't know what's going on. And I'm so like, the internet is sometimes you got the yin and the yang and ain't all great, but it was the good part of it that you do get this information. And then I got to see that a lot of people are going through this. And once I knew what it was, and then I wasn't alone, it gave me a different lens. And I want to just echo what Iman said. Like, I'm so glad that you did have that courage to share your story and not let the shame keep you in that like isolated. And that's also not healthy for your healing either, when you're like trying to suppress it and keep it a secret. And that's why I think it's so important to be transparent with things that you're comfortable sharing, because it helps people not feel alone and not like, I'm a stupid or I'm an idiot or whatever, because that's the easy labels for it. Like, you got me out here looking like a fool. And then, but now when you know, when you could put something behind it, it's like freeing. And I think it's so important for you to keep sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think just going off that, like, if like it was hard for me to see Selena go through that, but as a friend, I'm like, well, I don't know like what to do or how to like what I can do if I can. So like, you going through that, what would you have, like, what did you feel like you needed to kind of get out of that, like in terms of supports or
well, I know like when I was going through that time after going no contact with the narc, I ended up going, I think she was kind of just like I don't know if she was like a counselor, but she was more just like someone to talk to, like a mental health support person. And I talked with her, but I will say this, I was in the counseling group or meeting or whatever, and I just felt like she was judging me. And so it wasn't really that helpful. But what really did help me though was seeing other people like on YouTube that talked about their experiences with narcissists and doing my own research. But then, you know, I was able to kind of reach out to my friends, those that were true, because I did run into a lot of people in California that, you know, were, I don't know, it was just they were out for themselves. Like they was just looking to get like their next deal or looking to get like their next following contract or whatever. I don't know. They were just trying to, I don't know, it was just strange. But you know, I was able to kind of like travel and go out with them and just spend time with people that I knew like really loved me and care about me. That kind of helped me to be able to like heal. But then also having my platform and sharing my story and my experience really helped me to kind of get through all of this.
So way different question.
Yeah.
What do you hope? Usually we say, what do you hope that people say when you're not in the room? But for you specifically, what do you hope your followers get from you sharing your story?
I would hope that they would say like, you know, Joy is like brave and courageous for sharing her story, and she was like strong and like authentic, and she didn't back down from a challenge that was meant to like destroy her. You know, I want them to be like, I can do that too, you know. I give them that kind of inspiration and motivation to do the same.
And you mentioned, I did want to touch on, because earlier you said the first one was 4 years and the second was 4 months. So that experience, that 4-year experience, I'm sure was like, you saw it coming a mile away with the second person and you were able to get out quicker.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. And the difference, well, because obviously the first one was a narcissist and the other one, he was a borderline. And so borderlines are similar, but with them, they can love. The empathy is not really much, but they are kind of focused on abandonment issues. So it's like they want to get you like super attached so that way you don't leave them. But if they feel like, you may not be, you know, a good fit for them, or they may be like, oh, okay, she's starting to see through me, then they may try to abandon you and then, try to get you before you get them. But then with the borderlines, they harm themselves. They like go into like self-harm. A lot of them, they had like bad childhoods, so they were abused physically, emotionally, all that stuff. And I remember I was like super embarrassed because everybody knew that I was like seeing him, but he was on the phone with this person and he literally like raised his voice and like the entire call center heard him. And mind you, we were working at in the city of Carson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
City. And so it's like the small building, and everybody kind of knew everyone in a small place. But like he yelled at that customer, and everybody was looking like, "Is he okay?" And I was even scared. I was like, "He's coming home with me tonight." Like, am I sure I want him to come home with me? Because I was even scared. I was like, "Okay," but yeah, that was the difference.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess so. Like the whole reason, this is a little bit change of pace, but the whole reason Lena and I even started this podcast was kind of just to redefine success and joy and happiness. So for you, what does success look like? Like, what is your definition of success, and when are you happiest?
So success for me, I feel like it's when you are doing what you love and you love what you do. Like you are fulfilled and you are like really, really happy to wake up to your job or career or whatever it is that you're doing in life. I think that's what success is. And then when I'm the most happiest is when I'm with my family, and this is gonna sound kind of weird, but when I'm eating, like having a really good meal, and just like just talking, bonding. And another time when I'm at my most happiest is when I'm traveling. I love to travel. I love to explore. I love to see the world, and I like seeing different environments, different cultures, and different people. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite place that you've traveled?
You said a favorite place?
Mm-hmm.
So far, I would say, and I have many more places to go, but I say Jamaica has been my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamaica's fun.
You're the first person to ever say food. I love that.
Yeah, I just love I'm a tourist, and so I love like whenever I sit down and eat, especially if it's a really, really good meal, like I'm just so happy and just like, yes, like let's just eat.
I think we take that for granted because we eat every day, but like food is so good. It does make me happy, especially when I do my little cheap meals.
Changes your whole mood. Like,
yeah. Oh, I was, you get hangry. Iman and I talked about that. Yeah. I was hangry yesterday.
Yeah.
And I know, sorry, there's a lot of noise.
Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry. So they say your inner circle is super important. And I know you mentioned your friends helping you get through the situation, but what qualities does your inner circle have to have?
That's a really good question. Man, I would say they would definitely have to be open-minded, a person that's empathic for sure, a person that's honest, loyal, caring, understanding, a person that is that's like strong, and that also has like a good heart. I would say a good heart and a good mindset. Like that's what I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And then I guess for our listeners who might have dealt with narcissists or are currently in a relationship or dealing with one, what advice would you give them?
Man, I would say is reach out for support. Don't be afraid to speak up, stand up for yourself. Try to plan an escape if you can. Please don't tell the narcissist what you're doing because they're going to try to sabotage it. Save up your money, whatever you got to do, move, change your number, block them, go no contact. And if there's children involved or there's legalities, get a lawyer involved. And if again, if you're trying to figure out what to do with the kids, like make sure you get like scheduled visitations. Like if you're trying to figure out who's having custody, I would recommend doing that. But have it written down on paper so it's, formalized, but just reach out and block them, go no contact, like I said, and know that it's going to get better. You're going to be able to get through this. It may not feel that way, but you can overcome it, and it's going to get better.
Yeah, and I think that's important to. It was a I wasn't even thinking about. There's probably so many people right now that are obviously still in those situations. So yeah, if you're listening, like you're not alone, and my heart goes out to you. Honestly, I know how crazy, how hard it can be to leave, and like how taxing it is emotionally, like just on your whole life, and how they can invade your whole life. So yeah, my heart really goes out to those people. If anyone's listening that's going through that.
Same here. It's tough, but it may not feel like you can leave now, because I do have a lot of my clients and people that talk to me and stuff. They just say like, Joy, like I don't think that I could leave. Like I've been with this person for so long. We're married, we have kids, and I grew up with this person. I know them. They're like my best friend, but I'm like, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you crying every night? Are you miserable?
Yeah.
Do you want to live like that for the rest of your life? So I always just kind of bring that to them, but it's gonna get better. It just, you may have to go through the bad to get to the good. So
Yeah.
And I guess it sounds like within that there might be a lot of like self-blaming.
yeah.
Like, are there any, and Selena, you might know too because you've done some research, but any like resources, or if you're like, I'm not sure if this is what I'm dealing with, like any places people can go to find more out?
Yeah, so like I said, google.com, just doing a search on, narcissistic abuse. Like I was saying, Facebook groups, mental health awareness. You could type that on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and that kind of stuff. So
I think it's easy when we fall into this like when things get popular, then everybody's this way. And
yeah.
I don't want to be irresponsible in that sense. So I think it's definitely just, I don't know how you confirm it, but like
Yeah.
that part. And then it was another part. And I also, I would say important too, I thought was helpful, is stop giving them ammo. So stop giving them more things to get deeper in or whatever. So what I did, I know what was a little bit helpful in my situation, and I hope this helps somebody. Just, I wouldn't tell him about things that were important to me.
Yes.
Or just so you can't, now you don't have as much to work off of. And I can't leave right now, and I didn't leave and before I left, but these were my ways that I started pulling back. So I think that's really helpful. So if you can't leave right away, stop, just don't give them no more ammo.
Yeah. And like you said, don't tell them important information. Just kind of slowly but surely start to like withdraw. Because narcissists are smart. I really do think that they're smart. They can pick up on, your different interactions and how you're being. Yeah. So don't make it obvious, don't make it obvious. Just kind of pretend like, everything is fine, but and they know too. They know that they're not normal. You know what I mean? And They know eventually you're going to leave, but they're just trying to get as much out of you as they can before, they end up going off to their new supply, or you discard them, so
yeah,
they're in it for themselves. They're definitely self-absorbed people, selfish. So
yeah.
And I guess I'm just curious because I feel like it's not easy, but easier when it's a relationship that you can kind of cut ties with. But like in relation to your aunt, like do you guys still have a relationship? Do you guys still see each other? And like, how do you navigate that, knowing like, okay, this isn't healthy for me, but I still have to maybe see you at family gatherings or something like that?
Well, at this point in my life, I have no contact with her. And I'm very happy about that. But I do remember the times, and this was actually before I even knew she was a narcissist. I had no idea that she was until after I was like moved out on my own, and I was just realized, I'm like, dude, like, why does she treat me this way? I haven't done anything to her. But yeah, like I just had to just realize what I was dealing with and just leave. but yeah.
Cut ties as well.
Yeah, cut ties. Yeah, and it was difficult. It was difficult to cut ties with her because I felt like I owed a lot to her because of like where I came from in Delaware.
Mhm.
And she helped me greatly, definitely. And I've always, and I never understood her anger or her like the way that she treated me. You know, she was so critical and belittling me all the time, and I didn't get it. I'm like, did I do something wrong? But she just took it out on me, and I never understood it. But it wasn't hard for me to cut ties with her because I realized, like, for one, she wasn't my mom, but I definitely did respect her. But I said my mental health, my emotional health, my psychological health is more important than having a relationship with you. I know that probably sounds bad, but that's just how I felt at the end of the day. And I didn't care, like, because on my dad's side of the family, we have a big family. So like I have 4 aunts and 5 uncles. And she was the kind of person where if something happened in the family, she would tell everybody, you know. So she did like a whole big smear campaign on me, which was very humiliating. And, you know, I was the bad person. So like even her sons, like even to this day, they're not, well, her oldest son, him and I are still friends on Facebook, but her youngest son, I don't know what she said to him, but he deleted me as a friend off Facebook. So I know that she was already kind of talking bad about me, but I didn't care. I just did what was best for me. And I don't have any regrets. Now, if she reached out to me like today or tomorrow, I mean, I don't think she ever would, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't hate her, but I would never, ever have any reason to talk to her, deal with her like ever. And I don't change that at all. That's just what I stand on. So.
And I think family, that's a whole nother ball game. That's so tricky to navigate. Because like we talked about earlier, like if it's a parent or somebody you have to live with, especially when you can't get away, I think that advice you gave earlier too, just to reiterate, is like staying away when you can and limiting that time and not giving them so much of yourself. I think that's such an important point. Just to like not, because if you sometimes you can't cut them off. Like this guy stuff, that's the, like, if you ain't your husband and you don't have kids, that's the easiest thing in the, you know, like the easiest part of this whole thing. I think that's if you're a victim of that type of situation, which is not, I'm not minimizing that, it's horrible, but it's the easiest one that you can get away from versus like when, you know, and I think that what you're describing, like that I've dealt with that, is just really limiting that time and like not giving them more ammo. And like,
I know, like
a job, you can do protect yourself.
Like
hobbies,
prioritize
yourself. And be like short, like tone with them. Like don't, like if they ask you a question, they're trying to like get in your business, just be like or just be like answer like with the one word response. Like don't go deep into it, because eventually they're going to use that against you.
And make you feel bad about it and tear you down when they can. So if it's something that you need to protect it. So I know for me through my life, I've just been like, let me keep this to myself because I know I have to protect this if it's something that's important to me. And I think that's been really helpful. So what you said, like just keeping as much distance as you can. That's the only thing we got, only solution we got here.
And then, like, cause I remember, like I said, like while living with my aunt, that 2-year mark, I was like, cause I felt like I was the golden child. Like she literally, and that's why I say like, I was a respectful young adult, because again, coming from where I came from, going there, I was appreciative that she took me in, you know. My immediate family, we had such a tragedy that happened, and it was something that I didn't really have time to grieve. That I had to go from one side of the country all the way to the complete opposite, and just had to like start my life over. But I feel like nobody really cared to like talk to me about it. They just always just was like, oh, maybe you should go to therapy, and oh, like, you know, just move on. And, you know, so just dealing with that. And like I said, at that 2 years, it was just like she just started to just put me down, and she would get nosy. Like in my business, she'd be like, okay, so Joy, like, what do you want to do with your career? Like, you want to like go to this college? And if I tell her like my ideas and the things that I had planned, she'd be like, I don't think that's a great idea. I don't think you should do that. And I'm just like, well, I'm young. It's okay for me to try, I'm open. And it was just, she was trying to force her will onto me. But I will tell you ladies, this is that she did tell me the reason why she was like that towards me. I'll never forget this. She said that because when she was younger, she was bullied by her brother. And she felt like she didn't, like she got married too quick. She got married when she was 22. And so she didn't get to travel. She didn't get to like live her life like how she wanted to. And she didn't get to, I guess, pursue what she really wanted to do. So I guess her seeing me, she was just like, wow, like Joy is just so open and she's free and she's just willing to try stuff. And I didn't get an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to put her down. I'm going to scare her into not wanting to do that. I'm going to push her into the direction where I want her to go instead, and I don't think that's right. I think everybody has their own independent mind and they should be able to make their own decisions based off of the information that they're given, as long as it doesn't harm anybody. It wasn't saying, because I was just telling her like things that I had aspired to do. Like, I remember I had like this plan. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to work at this place. I'm going to work at that place. And I'm just trying to live my life, support myself. And she was just like, oh no, I that's not a good idea. And it wasn't saying that I was a stripper, not saying that there's anything wrong with being a stripper, but it was like, I wasn't harming anybody. I'm just out here living. And at another time, I remember, people in LA, they model. And I had a good time with that. It wasn't nothing serious. But I remember before I started, I asked her, I remember we were at this gathering because the family on my dad's side, we always get together for holidays. We had a big family. I remember I was like, yeah, auntie, I was like, what do you think if I like modeled? Like if I just, modeled? And she was like, she looked me dead in my eyes and she was like, no, I don't think you should do it. With a straight face. And that was it. And I'm just like, you didn't even ask me like, well, why do you want to do it? Or who are you going to model with, or how, or the ideas that I have for myself. She didn't even, it was no interest. It was no care. It was just like, no, I don't think you should do it. And how do you think that would make a younger person feel? It's like, you just killed their dream. Like, but luckily I didn't, like I said, I had my own mind, and I'm just grateful to God that I didn't let her get to me, because she didn't want me to do anything with my life. She wanted me to be just like her. And I'm not saying that how she is now, it's not saying it's great. That's fine for her, but don't impose yourself on me because you're insecure about how you lived your life. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's a lot. Sorry.
No.
It's a lot sometimes. It's just, I still can't believe I went through that. And I'm just like,
I know.
literally innocent. Like, why are you doing this? Like,
it's a tricky dynamic too, because that person is, somebody you look up to usually, exactly. Just like your aunt or your parents, or like even siblings and stuff like that. So it's like, that's a really, really tricky, situation and dynamic. That's not like somebody on this, that, it's not a friend. That's something somebody really trusts.
Exactly.
And then and you kind of like listen to what they say. It can get really, really tricky. That's when it's like, that's dark.
Yeah. And it's that assumption that they have your best interest in mind. Right. And they don't, like, that hurts on a whole nother level.
Yeah. It's that's painful. Yeah.
It was very, I think I mourned, like, and like I said, I would cry for that 6 months straight. And I don't think it was just the narc, like the male narc, but I think it was her too, like that rejection, like of just constantly like just rejecting my ideas, rejecting me for just being myself. It was like, I wasn't okay and free to be me. Like it was something was wrong with me. And it's like, not like,
making you feel like you're not capable of things.
Exactly.
That's something else. I could talk about that with you for a long time. This is so like triggering. I need to like book a session now where like after I get with the therapist. Because I'm like, damn, it's horrible. It's horrible. This is I hope more research and like more information becomes available on this. Because it does need to be addressed. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
I'm finding it helpful knowing just like the warning signs.
Yeah.
And like knowing the difference between someone that's self-absorbed versus a narcissist.
Right.
Like making that distinction the way you explained, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I know we had some technical difficulties and all that. Thank you, Julie, for persevering through that today. I think I didn't want to end on a low note, so I don't know.
I know, it's like, man,
because we're running out of time.
yeah.
But yeah, anything you mind? Anything that we can leave, or Joy, we can leave our listeners with something uplifting.
Yeah.
This is the You Plus Happy podcast.
I know, right? I'm like, but I would say, like, don't let the world take your smile away. And I know that can be difficult, especially with everything that's going on now. But things that you go through in life, different experiences, try to see the positive side of it. Try to see it as a lesson that maybe God sent for you to learn about yourself. Also, don't take things personal. I know that is like very difficult, but just try not to take it personal. Understand that it wasn't about you, but it is for you to learn from it and not make that same mistake again. And you're not alone. Like you said earlier, you're not alone. People have gone through this, and people may continue to keep going through this, but you can get through it. You can, and don't let it change you. Don't let this experience, if you go through a negative experience, don't become like that person, because you're letting them win. You become better. Like, what's that saying? They say, don't become bitter, become better, or something like that.
Yeah.
So become better because of a situation like this. So.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, we don't have anything else. Do you, Joy? You good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot.
I guess just one more thing, and I know, sorry, we're a little bit over. Just in terms of where listeners can find your, I don't know if you have a website or organization, or if you have any upcoming projects.
Yeah, so I do have a website. It's called livenarcfree.com. All of my social media platforms, which is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of it is Live Narc Free. And as far as projects, I do have 2 coaching programs that I usually enroll most of my clients into. One is called Overcome Narcissistic Abuse, where I guide you on how to overcome narcissistic abuse for a 90-day period. And then the other one is called Turn Your Pain into Power, where after dealing with an experience like this, how you can turn that into your power, meaning where you can help other people overcome this, or if you have another goal or dream or something that you want to do, to show them how to turn that into a profitable business or monetize it. So those are some things that I'm working on. So
great. We'll put some links in the show notes, y'all. So we're gonna close out. Everybody ready to close out?
Yes.
We'll do a little outro. Okay. Thank you, Joy, for sharing your time with us and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves.
And of course, thank you, listeners. We could not do this without you. Remember to hit like and share this episode. Please leave a review. We always want to hear your feedback. Remember, you can subscribe at You Plus Happy Podcasts. We're available on YouTube, and you can follow us at You Plus Happy on Instagram.
And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. And we ask our guests to say our tagline. It's a little long, Joy, but it is, we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Okay, we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Hey, fun.